Now Rapelang Forbes 30 Under 30, Reconstruction of Social Innovation, Africa's Best Young Entrepreneur, World Economic Forum, and to sum it all off, success. What does success mean to you and how would you interpret it?
I believe that success is being able to make daily decisions that actually reflect your truest hearts, your truest values and intentions. So it's really about being able to understand yourself and the things that matter to you personally, so that you can tap into that authenticity and be able to make decisions, take up work, do projects that actually reflect that. And when you actually stay in a place that where you can operate from your truth, you're able to leverage greater value and resources from the people around you. So in the end, it has very little to do with sort of money and material things. It's really about being able to choose on a daily basis to do things that matter to you.
Marlon, it wasn't all roses for you when you began Our Labs. Taking from where Our Labs was born from, what would you say were your greatest challenges when you did begin Our Labs, especially relating it to the innovator or entrepreneur now? How important do you think are programs such as First Steps Venture Center?
Thank you for the question. One of the biggest challenges when we started our lab specifically was around getting people to believe in the idea, and more so when you're trying to do something in the sense of when we're trying to use technology to transform communities. A lot of people at the time, we talk in 2008, were thinking that's crazy. There's no way that you'll be able to do it more so in a community like the Cape Flats, where there's lots of social challenges and social ills that our communities are facing. So the biggest challenge I had, number one, was convincing people that the idea, I believe in the idea that this is the value that the idea can bring into the community. And I think secondly, the other big challenge was, because we never had any funding to start our labs, it was really about learning how to begin to bootstrap, leveraging the resources we have and maximizing it. And if there's one lesson that I would like to share with entrepreneurs, would be rather maximize what you already have before go out and asking people for money. And it's once you are able to prove your value through using the limited resources, that is where partners and the right funders will come along.
Ms. Rabana, you were born and raised in Botswana. We know of your Steve Jobs. Some of us, if not many, are only hearing about Rapelang Rabana for the first time. You've been on platforms such as CNN and other international stages, so it's definitely not about exposure. Our entrepreneurs are crying, we have the products, we are here, we exist, but we're just not getting through to the market. What do you think is the problem and where do you think we're going wrong?
So there are lots of issues when a small business or any kind of startup goes to market and tries to sell their product. I think the very first thing though that a lot of young companies might struggle with is really understanding the value proposition they're trying to deliver to the market. Often a lot of businesses or startups are conceived out of things that are interesting to the founders that don't necessarily relate directly to a customer need or market need, and then they try and force that idea or product onto an existing market and then are surprised if it doesn't fit or people don't take it up. So it's important for any young company to really start that process in reverse, to understand the customer very well and the market very well and exactly what value proposition they're bringing and what would make the customer buy. Ultimately, customers don't buy to make you feel better or because the world's a fair place. You've got to be able to articulate that value very, very clearly. And that's something that's quite easy to overlook. The sort of second point I'll make around that is around sort of perseverance. It takes years to really build a market brand awareness, a market position. And unless you really put in 5 to 10 years into a business, you haven't really put in enough time to get it going, and after a year it's still not enough. It actually takes a lot longer. So often the expectations of what you need to put in to really push things and build the business is underestimated, and you've got to really be in it for the long run, because things only really start to pay off and build up in sort of the 3rd or 5th year onwards. What I did find through my experiences with Diego is that we do struggle as Africans to buy products from other Africans in particular, especially with technology or ICT software, and very often we're quite excited to buy European or American products. And we had to take a very particular marketing strategy where we would promote ourselves through international media and only after that through local media, because that will pick up on the international press and somehow that gives some validation to what we're doing. It's still an unfortunate situation where we don't have as much confidence in our own technology products, and something that we have to do something to address in the long term. But there are sort of clever or smart sort of marketing tactics that you can take to develop a different brand around your business.
Marlon, you work with young and old people alike, and you were just saying earlier that you had a 90-year-old woman on Facebook, which I think is amazing. Relating to the question of having us support and buy into our local products, how important do you think it is for us as Africans to support our local products and entrepreneurs? But more importantly, how important is it for our economies as developing nations?
One of the biggest things that we can do as Africans is actually supporting our local economies. For us as Labs, what we do is we ensure that we develop and equip our local communities using technology, thinking about entrepreneurship. But at the same time, it's important for them to also invest and buy locally produced products. The worst scenario that we're finding is where people are actually buying innovative and technology products outside of their local communities or outside of the countries. We need to rather become exporters into Europe or into the US instead of just kind of importing some of these technologies. So I do believe it's very important as long as we can ensure that the funds and the money remains in the local economies and rather bring in funding from elsewhere into the economy. And around the socio-economic aspect of it, if we are able to have more funds that's flowing around in the local communities, it then means that we can employ more people. And that of course allows us to address some of the big serious challenges such as youth unemployment.
Marlon Parker, Ms. Rapeleng Rabana, First Steps Venture Center Game Changers. Thank you so much for the interview.